What's up, guys? We are back. We're back with Brewski. Anyways, we got a CivDiv video. This is going to be interesting because CivDiv and I agree on a lot, pretty much everything in regards to soldiering here in Ukraine, the difficulties, the dangers, the fact that you pretty much just got to be lucky to survive. And this says 2025 is a nightmare for infantry in Ukraine. Now, when I was in the infantry in the Legion in 2023, I thought there's no way things could get more dangerous when I was in Kupiansk and on a combat deployment with the Legion. But when I deployed with Azov this year, 2025, I was proven wrong. It is 10 times more dangerous. Are you good? Can I have this, please? All right. So we're going to watch this. Check out CivDiv. He's the GOAT, along with CivDiv, Preston Stewart. These are like the OGs, all right? So definitely check him out. Go check out our Discord too, dude. Our Discord is a blast. We have a lot of fun in there. Not only are we just having fun in there, but we keep all of the uncensored footage, clips. It's all archived in there for our members. So if you like to see that gnarly, gruesome shit with, like, you know, body parts flying off and people burning, I'm not a huge fan of that stuff, frankly. It's hard for me to watch, but a lot of people like it. They find it educational. That's in the Discord. Check it out. Link in description. Also, Azov's International Battalion, the battalion that I'm in, here in Azov, here in Ukraine. Link is also in the description for that application. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
The battlefield didn't just get more lethal in 2025, it got more complicated, more fragile, and more lonely. Logistics are brittle, medevac is dangerous, the front line is not a solid line anymore, there's plenty of holes in it. And it's mostly small teams that are doing the work that used to be squads and platoons. Technology helps, but also makes movement visible and expensive. So let's talk about what has changed in 2025 for infantry, and mostly the difficulties of being an infantryman at this point. Constant counter-drone posture. Soldiers can't just sit in a trench anymore. They need to keep their heads on a swivel for drones overhead. They have to carry shotguns with them now. They have to put camouflage netting over all their bunkers and even on top of themselves sometimes. Use smoke grenades, even decoys, all of which adds weight and mental load. There's a lot that's going on in the infantry's mind. The stress is real. The buzzing of a drone is now the modern incoming whistle. Camouflage is never enough.
Okay, hold on. He's so fucking on point, and I have a feeling this whole video is going to be like this, that I'm just going to be stopping it because these are such good points. I don't want to blow by this. The amount it weighs on you mentally, knowing that there at any given moment, FPV can pop up from behind a bush or a dropper drone can drop a grenade on you. The way that weighs on you mentally should not be underestimated or taken or not taken into account. It is extremely stressful. Like he said, in 2023, you could in 2022, you could sit in trenches. Like, you could actually sit there, do your thing. You didn't have to worry about necessarily as often getting dropped by a drop drone or an FPV flying into your trench. You can't do that anymore. You need these camo nets. Camo nets have saved my life, just my life, specifically, multiple times, because these drones will get caught up in the camo nets and couldn't make it to where I was. So stressful, dude.
Imagers and IR drones mean that even at night or under foliage, you are often visible. So infantry have to carry thermal blankets with them, heat masking ponchos, or dig deeper and deeper holes, or make very, very quick movements and then just stay in a hole for the next couple hours until, the drones lose attention. Digging and camo upkeep is now a daily grind, not a one-time chore that it used to be. Weight creep. In World War II,
All right, gotta stop it. I won't do this on every point, okay? But this one is important because I have a story behind it. Camouflage, super important, specifically about thermal drones. The last AO I was working in, the Russian drone team called Rubicon was working in. Rubicon became pretty well known after they disrupted the supply line, the Ukrainian supply lines in Kursk, and helped the Russians take back the Kursk region. So Rubicon became famous. They're extremely professional. They were working in the last AO I was in, and it was noticeable, right? How fast their FPVs were, how accurate they were, and the how quickly they found us was all very obvious. With that said, I have a story. Me and one of my best buddies, Alfie. This is him. I've talked about him on multiple videos. He was a different breed subscriber. He came from this channel to Ukraine and was in Azov fighting Russians. Alfie is no longer with us anymore. Rest in peace, brother. But I was on his first mission with him, and we started taking, well, long story short, we had to get to a position to stay the night. We weren't able to make it all the way to the initial position we were supposed to get to. We had a handful of members on our team, and there was a position for them to stay, but then for a couple people, there wasn't enough room for two of us to stay in this position safely. None of the positions are really safe. They're just holes in the ground with a cami netting over you. So I saw a tree a while back during our patrol to the position. So I said, Alfie, come with me. We'll go stay under this tree. It was like it was almost like a bush, right? But I saw underneath we could probably stay under there. So what we did was I knew Rubicon was working in the area, and I knew 90% of their drones were thermal drones. So I took out one of our Mylar thermal emergency blankets, and we crawled under this bush, and we put this thermal blanket over both Alfie and I, and we had to, like, if you've seen the movie Without a Paddle, where they're like cuddling for warmth, that was me and Alfie, and we had the thermal blanket over us because we were on a drone highway, dude. Obviously, we didn't get much sleep that night because we're beyond the zero line. We're in enemy territory, and it's just nonstop drones, big drones, small drones, FPVs. But we survived the night, and I really do think it's because of that Mylar thermal blanket. This is what he's talking about is so important. So having these thermal blankets, these cloaks now, they're very common. Having thermal cloaks, they're kind of like the half ghillie suits, but they can keep your thermal signature in. Smaller, important.
A rifleman carried about 40 to 50 pounds. In Ukraine, infantry often carry 70 to 100 pounds. Body armor, drone countermeasures, including shot. Infantry often carry 70 to 100. Riflemen carry about 40 to 50 pounds. In Ukraine, infantry often carry 70 to 100 pounds. Body armor, drone countermeasures, including shotguns, comms gear, power banks, extra batteries for optics and radios, plus the usual ammo, water, food. More kit equals more fatigue, slower movement, and worse survivability when running. And not to mention that because the gray zone is so large in some sectors of the front line now, they have to infill for about 20 kilometers with all that gear. And they can't ride a car. If you ride a car, you get hit by a drone. You have to take the worst paths too. You can't be out in the open. You have to be in the really dense brush where a drone might not be able to find you. It's brutal. And I'm glad I'm not infantry anymore for that reason. Sleep is shredded. Persistent drone and artillery harassment means there's no safe rest. Frontline soldiers often sleep in 20 to 40 minute micro naps, but never deep sleep. And okay, that could make sense if it's a couple day operation, but they're gonna be stuck out there for a while. A lot of times, once they get so deep into the gray zone or so deep into the front line, there's no way for them to actually exfil until a week or two afterwards, which means they are exposed to all these different threats and sounds that you just can't fall asleep when there's a drone buzzing around you. But it's so frequent, and yeah, that's a big one that's taking a toll on a lot of my friends that are in infantry units right now. Chronic fatigue is going to lower reaction time and morale, and after weeks, it feels like you're fighting while drunk. It's not good. We all know complacency kills, but it was a lot easier to get away with it back in the day. You have eyes in the skies now staring and zooming in on you for any hiccup in protocol. Turn on a flashlight, don't turn off location services on your phone, don't have a Faraday bag, don't turn off Face ID, smoke outside, take a piss outside, shit outside. All this stuff you have to stop, or else you will be met with lethal means. It's so difficult to be infantry now. You got a bomb strapped to it? Mines everywhere.
This is so, I love the relevance of CivDiv's content because this is so true, especially in my position where we have a unit in Azov's International Battalion, obviously, where it's international soldiers. So we have a lot of people who want to come fight. And this kind of stuff is so important to know. There is very little glory in infantry work, and even less glory now. It's dirty, it's dark, it's cold most often, and it's getting into that winter season, fall season now. It's dirty, dark, cold, scary, lonely. It's so exhausting. This is, you know how, there's a saying, God loves the infantry, right? Because it's arguably one of the hardest jobs. And when you talk about Ukraine conflict in particular, it is absolutely, it can be miserable.
Minefields, both laid and drone drop, that's the big one. Infantry patrols spend as much time not stepping wrong as they do moving forward. They have to look at the sky, they have to look in front of them, their sectors, what is their job? Their job is usually right in front of them. It's a 2D world for them. Well, if they don't want to die, they also have to look at the ground because of just that crazy amount of mines that are everywhere. Everywhere. IEDs, improvised stuff, unexploded ordnance, unexploded drones, and drone drop pedal mines, which are banned by most countries, but when you're in a war like this, anybody's going to use it. Medical loads. Well, because medevacs are so unreliable.
I know 4 people personally who have lost their feet to those drone dropped pedal drones, or pedal mines. We call them butterflies. Anyways, we'll keep moving.
Every soldier now has to carry more trauma gear, extra tourniquets, hemostatic agents, chest seals. I remember doing recon at the start of the war. It was a very similar environment to this, where the gray zone was so huge. And there's a lot of times where we patrol in and it was just no action at all. But our medic was carrying not only his medical bag, but also his main pack and his rifle. And he had to march with us. He was like 50 years old. This is not an easy task, but we get it done because we have to. But it's only gotten worse because the gray zone is once again opened up and we didn't have FPVs in 2022. Shorter rotations, longer exposure. Units can't mass and rotate out as easily. It's too visible, so small groups have to sit in exposed positions deep within the front line for longer, without the relief cycles older armies relied on. If you're told you're going on a 5-day rotation, anybody in Ukraine will tell you, you never know how many days it's actually going to be. The front line changes like that, and you're locked down. If you're not able to walk back because you have a casualty, well, you have to wait for an exfil vehicle. And if that exfil vehicle gets hit, or if there's a drone, it's not worth it for that vehicle to get destroyed with the driver than to get you home so you can rest. It is always better to wait. So you can find yourself out there for a month or 2. There's no true rear area. Precision strikes and long-range drones means that you're never really out of the fight. Even 20 kilometers back, you're under the threat of Shaheeds, Lancets, or guided missiles. Not to mention that 40-kilometer strands of fiber optics for FPV drones that have a kilo warhead that are meant for infantry and meant for small vehicles, they're common. They're common. Even 20, 30 kilometers back, you'll see netting across most of the MSRs. Unit cohesion fractures faster. When one guy is killed or wounded in a form...
This is something that's not talked about much on mainstream media, but the Russians are FPVing with these fiber optic FPVs and just drones in general, civilian vehicles non-stop now. It is... I went out to the Donbass a couple weeks ago, and we had to take a different route than we usually go because there was 6 civilian vehicles hit earlier that day, including a city bus. These are all civilian vehicles. They weren't military or kind of military like this with a little paint job. No, this is your fucking average Lada or your average Polo that the Russians are just blowing up.
Man patrol, that is 25% of your fighting strength gone. Small team operations that both the Russians and the Ukrainians are using right now, they magnify losses. Maps versus reality. The front line on paper is not what soldiers experience. They walk into Russian patrols kilometers behind where the map says that the front is. The maps don't even look like anything you're going to encounter out there. All the buildings are smashed. All the tree lines are burned up. The maps really don't do justice. And plus, a lot of the footage, even if it's like real time the day before, is from a drone. That's not the perspective you're going to have on the ground. How much different does this look from the sky versus on the ground? Very different. Digging is survival, not optional. Trenches and dugouts must be constantly deepened, camouflaged, and rebuilt after strikes. This manual labor eats up hours every day, in addition to patrolling and resupply. And if you're out there without a hole that you can hide in, with camouflage on top or even cover on top, I mean, you're not going to be able to survive. You're not going to be able to survive the night. You have to have a place to be underground because there's so much stuff that's flying through the air. Not only drones, but shrapnel. Equipment fragility. Because of this high-tech environment, if you don't have thermal optics, for instance, you are vastly outgunned. Civilian-grade drones, radios, and batteries break under mud, the cold, or shrapnel. Infantry are constantly fixing consumer electronics under combat conditions.
Please, God.
Whether that's a generator cable, whether it's a Starlink, trying to figure out why is it not working? Oh, I need to sign in. Stuff like that can get you killed. It's getting really tech oriented. Now, for everything that I've said, it's not all doom and gloom. For Ukraine, I know firsthand how much the command actively participates on the front line and how much they care about keeping everybody safe as long as possible and are able to come back home. A lot of commands really care about their guys and their morale, which is definitely a plus that I've seen the last year. So going on with that, resupply is often done robotically. They're using...
I just want to add a caveat to this a little bit because I'm not going to disagree with CivDiv, but I will say in good units, in good solid foreigner-friendly units, the command gives a shit. Okay, I'm sure he will attest to this as well. In certain units, especially earlier on in this war, not all commanders gave a shit, and they may give some bad orders knowingly. Okay, I don't want to get too much into it, but
ground drones to go and deliver the stuff that they would need on the front line, whether it's food, water, ammunition, FPVs, or even as medevac. So there's a way to get these people out without exposing a driver in a pickup truck, which is oftentimes going to be killed or targeted. Anti-drone drones are everywhere. So this is mainly for the fixed-wing Orlons, but those are the ones that are calling in the bigger guided munitions like a FAB or CAB, or even Lancets. Well, there's a lot of drone tech happening right now, not only developed by NATO and the US, but also within Ukraine, that is being tested on the front line, able to intercept these fixed-wing drones and really keep it a little bit safer. Now, for small-time FPVs and Mavics, we still have yet to find a really effective way to take those down, especially given that jamming systems are so far behind now because the gray zone is so big in a lot of parts of the front line. They can't really reach it. But nonetheless, there's some work being done there. And I gotta mention, casualties seem to be down. It's very difficult to find any casualty data ever since the beginning of this war. But I would imagine, and from what I'm hearing from friends and seeing in footage, and from everything that I know, casualties are a bit down, especially for infantry. Why? Because the front line doesn't need to be flooded with a company-sized element that just gets smashed. It just needs to have a couple bunkers with a couple small teams inside them. So the casualties are starting to be a little bit more minimized. There are still casualties on both sides regarding infantry as well as the indirect fire and the drone teams, of course. But the gray zone has made it a lot safer for these groups, the indirect fire and the support systems to work even further behind. Whereas before, a year and a half ago, we were working on the Chasiv Canal looking at Bakhmut. It was constant suppression by indirect fire. It was risky, and we thought it was risky. Well, the infantry are 2 kilometers ahead of us, dealing with who knows what. So who knows for real, but drones and ground robotics and all sorts of different technologies coming out now where you don't need to fill a trench up with a company. You understand what I'm saying? I hope you do. But again, I can't give you casualty figures. I try to find them. There's no possible way. All we know is that at least 122,000 Russian soldiers have died since the beginning of the war. We have public data that's been posted. We know that for fact. But other than that, we have no clue. So in closing, it's not just that drones are everywhere. It's that drone sites, long-range fires, logistics attacks, medevac risk, comms fragility, and tech dependencies together make the life of a foot soldier far harder than a single headline admits. Infantry used to be able to count on supply and quick medevac. Now they count on timing, luck, a lot of luck, and a small set of systems that sometimes work and sometimes don't. That's the problem. That's why walking the ground is so hard now. So hopefully you guys better understand the Ukrainian front line at this point. I'm not there right now. I haven't been an infantry soldier for the last, 2.5 years. So I'm really basing this off of what I know as an FPV engineer and Maverick pilot from a year ago, as well as what my friends are telling me that are both in infantry roles as well as in rear positions watching this all unfold. So, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned something, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.
Dude, he's spot on. Fucking spot. Oh yeah, here, check out. Dude, that's how you know you made it. You got bunker branding, Matt Carragher's brand to make your shit. That's how you know. Check CivDiv out, you guys. He's awesome. But I just want to say he's absolutely right in the regard that he said he hasn't been an infantry soldier in a couple years, but this is what his take is on it, and it's 100% correct. I've said this in a couple videos before, but I have a buddy, Ivan, and he says, or this was a while back, but he used to say, dude, this war is too dangerous for infantry now. And I'm like, it sounds absurd, right? It's like, of course, war is dangerous, obviously. But no, like, you just can't do shit anymore. Like, that's not like these fucking movies where you're getting in these awesome, gnarly firefights and no, dude, like, you're just walking and you get a leg blown off by an FPV, and then you bleed out for 3 days, and then you die, and then nobody gets your body, and then that's it. And your parents wonder where you are for 6 months until somebody gives them a call in Ukrainian and tries to explain that you have been missing. That's the reality of it. It's no Last Stand fucking Warhammer 40K on top of a hill taking out this, the heretics, hordes and hordes of orcs. Nah, man. As much as I wish it was like that, something's got to give one way or the other, in the sense that either infantry's going to become obsolete, which is unrealistic, because like CivDiv has said in other videos, like I've said, there's always a need for infantry in some capacity in a conflict. But either it gives that way, or it gives in the direction of drone tech and anti-drone tech. If we can have better anti-drone measures, we can have more infantry. But the faster the drone tech and the drone lethality increases, the less infantry that we can have, or at least safely deploy infantry. Oh, great video. This is the kind of video that when I started this channel is what I wanted to have when I first came to Ukraine, right? When I first came to Ukraine, I was looking on YouTube, Google, looking for videos like this, like what's it actually like out there? Like what's happening? This is it, dude. This is what it's all about. So check out CivDiv. Do me a favor, like, share, subscribe. If you want to jump in the Discord, links in below. If you want to come join us at Azov, also link for our application is down below. I love you guys. We'll see you in the next video.